For the first time ever on this channel, I am analyzing a vehicular combat racing game. And today, the game we are analyzing is called DevTrack Resurrection. Hi everyone, as always Patrick here. If you're already subscribed, make sure you turn on notifications, otherwise YouTube won't tell you if I posted anything. If you are new to the channel, make sure you watch until the very end and consider subscribing if you like it. Okay, DevTrack Resurrection. DevTrack Resurrection was developed by Skyfallen and published by quite a number of publishers actually. From 2009 to 2018, the game was published by 1C Company. From 2018 to 2022, it was published by 1C Entertainment. And nowadays, the game is published by Fulcrum Publishing. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Like I've said in the intro, this is a vehicular combat racing game. The game came out in 2009, so it's quite old, but then again, every single game I cover on this channel is pretty old, so you shouldn't be surprised by this. Now that the basic info is out of the way, let's start the analysis video by talking about the graphics. For a game released 2009, graphically it doesn't look bad, but it's nothing special, like it doesn't look good either. Now, the game doesn't look terrible, the graphically it's just below average. To prove my point, let's compare this game to other racing games that also came out in 2009. Not necessarily vehicular combat ones, just racing ones in general. Pannonia Rally, Rally Tough, World Racing Series. No, not the one by Senetic. Sorry for a starter. I have to make this clear every single time I mention this, okay? I hate mentioning this every single time, but I have to do it. GM Rally, Stunt Rally, Crash Time Free, Need for Speed Shift, and of course the big one, Colin McRae Dirt 2. While DevTrack definitely looks better than Rally Tough or GM Rally on Star or Stunt Rally, it just cannot compete graphically with games like Crash Time Free, Need for Speed Shift, and Colin McRae Dirt 2. You know, now that I think of it, every time I cover a game from 2009, I always bring up those games and nothing else. Maybe I should bring up games from other years as well. What do you think? Tell me in the comments down below. So while graphically this game is below average, I can't say the same about the options. The options are terrible. Not only they are terrible, they have a lot of problems. Yes, the game does support widescreen resolutions like 1080p, and there are some graphical options you can customize like anti-aliasing, but where's VSync? Where's anisotropic filtering? Where's everything else? And when I say everything else, you know what I'm trying to say with this. There's no FOV slider. But you know what? This one time, the FOV slider missing isn't the biggest problem, because there is actually one very, very big problem. So now that the game is almost 15 years old, you will probably have a PC that can run this game at very high frame rates. The game does have a 200 FPS cap from what I've noticed when I was recording, but there's a problem. When the game runs at higher than 60 FPS, there is a nitro problem. Nitro doesn't function properly over 60 FPS. What am I trying to say by that? Well, let's just say that Nitro no longer functions properly with glitchy visuals, distorted sound effect, and the Nitro meter doesn't drain when using it. And because of that, the Nitro is pointless. you have to cap the frame rate in order to fix the nitro and also crashing issues. Yes, the game crashes when your frame rate is too high. That's pretty stupid. And like I've mentioned before, there's no VSync, so that's very problematic. This means you can't cap the frame rate in game, you have to force the frame rate cap out of game. My solution for this is very easy. Simply use the NVIDIA control panel, make a profile for the game within your respective graphics card software. Sometimes the game can automatically detect this, so you don't have to make a profile. Then you force a frame rate cap of 60 within the profile, and that's it. You don't have to apply VSync. This workaround works perfectly fine. I didn't notice any issues. The game didn't crash a single time after that. I didn't have nitro issues. The game worked as intended. But yeah, even if you manage to fix those problems and this biggest problem, this doesn't change the fact that the options are terrible. Okay, enough talking about the graphics, it's time to talk about the story. This vehicular combat racing game actually has a story. Actually, it has a couple of stories. There's one story in the scenario mode, there's a story in the tournament mode, there's a story in the challenge mode, and there is no story in the drag race mode. For now, I will describe the scenario mode, the story in the scenario mode, since this is the easiest one to describe. Don't worry, I won't spoil anything if you didn't play the game. In scenario mode, you participate in a championship that comprises 10 stages taking place in the ruins of the largest cities in the world. At the end of each stage, one driver leaves the game under mysterious circumstances, leaving fewer and fewer races to participate in the subsequent races. I'm gonna stop myself there because if I want to analyze the entire story, I would be here for 5 hours. And I don't want to be here for 5 hours. Plus, the story really isn't all that interesting to begin with. The voice acting isn't also great, although it is terrible at times, but if I don't show you any clips that feature the voice acting, the better. So yeah, like I've said, other modes have other stories, but I'm not gonna talk about them in this video. I will leave them to you. You can play the game and just experience those stories for yourself. That's all I can say about the story without spoiling everything, so it's time to talk about the gameplay. I'm not going to talk about the gameplay for very long because of one very specific reason. If you've played any other vehicular combat racing game, you've played this before, except this time it's slightly different because it does some things differently compared to other vehicular combat racing games. But more on that later. Let's start with the physics, handling, and most importantly in this kind of game, crashes, explosions, and other extreme stuff. The handling and the physics are okay. Just okay. Nothing too special. Using the long straights feel perfectly fine because you're going straight, you're not turning, you can pick up a lot of speed. And with the nitro, which as you can see is glitched because I didn't cap the frame rate in this clip, so now you can see this glitch in motion. Yeah. And yeah, like I've said, it works great if you're going straight and when you use the nitro. But other than that, well, when you turn, it doesn't really feel that good. It kind of feels clunky in a way. You will probably hit a lot of things on your way because you can't really drift all that well. The game doesn't really encourage drifting, but still. Thankfully, the tracks themselves don't have that many turns or something, so Fair enough. You can drift in this game, but when you do, chances are you will probably hit a brick wall when that happens. And because of that, you will slow down, which is something that you don't want happening in a vehicular combat racing game, because other opponents can catch up to you and they can just destroy you. So that's a big problem. Thankfully, the damage models and crashes are very good in this game. Okay, maybe I'm over exaggerating. They're not very good, but they are good. They get the job done. Cars show dents, deformations, and other cool stuff. Sadly, it doesn't really affect your engine. I mean, it doesn't really make sense for this kind of game to begin with, but it would be nice to see if the damage actually affected the car. In other words, the damage affects the visuals of your car, except for the parts where you get completely destroyed. So, when you get destroyed, and visually it still looks good. There's a big explosion, which also looks good. And when you get destroyed, you lose your few seconds of advantage, and in that time your opponents can easily catch up to you, and then you have to catch up to them and win. So, just like in any vehicular combat racing game, this has an effect. So this game also encourages you to try your best and to not get destroyed, and I respect that. Can I say anything else without repeating myself? I don't think so, so I'll just say this. The handling and the physics are okay, just okay, like I've said before, and the crashes and damage models and everything relating to crashes and damage systems are good. Now let's quickly talk about the tracks this game has to offer. This will be a pretty short segment if you asked me, because all the tracks in the game are mostly flat with some inclines and declines, and pretty simplistic compared to other games. This makes sense actually, because in a weaponized combat racer like this one, it's better to have more flat and less complex tracks so the weapons can be more usable. There is a minor issue with this, but it's a very minor issue. Well, every single weapon in the game has auto aim, so even if you're going through a decline or an incline, it's not going to affect your weapon all that much, so you don't have to worry about any of that. One more thing before I move on to the next segment: there are 10 tracks in the game. Those tracks are the ruins of the former cities of Paris, Bangkok, London, Vatican City to be more exact, Prague, New York, Moscow, Istanbul, San Diego, and Tokyo. So the variety is there. I mean, 10 tracks isn't a lot, but it's still something. The game also has 10 cars, which I forgot to mention previously, and there are also 7 upgradable weapon types, including remotely controlled robots, EMP rockets, mines, etc. Speaking of weapons, let's talk about them right now. Again, another short section, so I will make this slightly longer by talking about bonuses as well. There are primary, secondary, and rear sets of weapons. For primary, you have the machine gun, the laser, and the plasma gun. You can't have them at once, you have to choose between the three. Basic weapons, except maybe the plasma gun and the laser. I don't see many vehicular combat racing games with those. Then there are secondary weapons, which are the rocket launcher and the terminators. Again, nothing original, but it works, especially the rocket launcher. It's very useful in this game. And then you have the rear weapons like mines and spikes. Again, nothing special, but it works. and when it works, don't fix it. There are also bonuses in this game, like I've said before, and they are pretty basic. There's the hassle, the shield, the repair, the points boost, the damage boost, and the ammo. I'm not gonna explain what they do because they are pretty self-explanatory, except maybe the hassle. If you don't know what it is, well, it just gives you boost. That's it. Technically speaking, I could end this analysis video here because honestly, there's not much to say about this game. There are some cool mechanics I could talk about, how, like for example, when the car catches on fire, you can drive fast to get rid of the fire. That's pretty cool. But I would rather focus on the downsides because you can't have a game without a downsides. The first problem, and that's a minor problem, the HUD is kinda ugly. I know, the year is 2009 and no one really knew how to make good HUDs yet, but this doesn't look good. It doesn't look terrible, but I would rather have the HUD look like something else. What would be my ideal HUD? Well, I don't know really. But I'm pretty sure there can be a better. I could be able to find a better HUD than this. Okay, and I know what you're thinking right now. Yes, I stutter a lot. This time actually I stutter more than usual. I can't be bothered to edit this out. I'm sorry that you have to listen to all those stutters. I'm really sorry. The second problem are the ramps. There are ramps in this game. Every track has them. And when you use them, they're not very satisfying. But that's not the only problem with them. When you jump, you can lose your control somehow, and you can land on your roof, and you have to restart to, continue driving. Again, another kinda small issue. Well, the whole unsatisfying part is a small issue, but not very controllable is a bigger issue. But how about this third issue? The AI can use pit maneuvers against you. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, shouldn't that be the case? I mean, it is a vehicular combat racer. Well, the AI shouldn't. It just shouldn't do it. I don't find it a good tactic. I think in vehicular combat racing games, the AI should be able to destroy you and not use the pit maneuvers. And every time they use it on you, it's infuriating because you lose so much time, and if you play on higher difficulties, you will always lose the race. This is not fun. But there is one gigantic problem that I have to address right now, and that problem is problem number 4, unresponsive controls. Some users may experience controls being unresponsive, where the game fails to detect that a key has been released. Some users perceive it as drifting. Tapping the associated key or button should return to the behavior back to normal. The issue does not occur with a controller. This is a very big problem because when you're playing on a keyboard, like I do, you can't do anything to fix this. There's just no workaround for it at all. Unless you count plugging in the controller as a workaround, but personally I don't. It's just a temporary fix to the problem. I really don't like this. And I think it's self-explanatory why I don't like this. This is a big problem and I'm still surprised that no one fixed this. I'm guessing someone is looking for a workaround for this, but honestly, at this point not many people care about the game and I don't think this will ever be fixed. So we just have to deal with it. And I don't like it. In conclusion, Death Track Resurrection is a game that exists. Below average graphics, basic story, and a just okay gameplay. I know, this doesn't say anything specific, so I'll try to be more specific, I guess. I did have a good time with the game, except for minor annoyances, but I don't really think much of it. It just works. I mean, the driving works as intended, the combat is kind of fun, and it can be pretty satisfying at times, but honestly, it's not gonna make me remember the game. I'll be honest, I'll probably forget about this game like a week after I upload this video. With that being said, do I recommend the game? Well, I actually don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, the game is very cheap on Steam and it goes on sale pretty often. So, yeah, I guess so. And when it's on sale, it's ridiculously cheap. It costs like literally nothing when it's on sale. So all I'm going to say is this: if you like vehicular combat arcade racers, then give this game a go. Maybe you'll like it. If you're looking for a new experience, or should I say an original experience, then maybe this game isn't for you. But if you don't really care about this, you can still give this game a go. Maybe you'll enjoy it. I did enjoy some aspects of it, but honestly, I just found the game okay. Like, just okay. Nothing more, nothing less. It's enjoyable, but maybe you'll find more enjoyment with this game than I did. That's all I can say, really. There's nothing else to say. I mean, I know I didn't really cover some of the things, like the fact that you can upgrade weapons or other things, but let's be honest, if you've played any vehicular combat racers, you've played this before, you know how this works, and But that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to say in this analysis video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Just